Let's get one thing straight right now. When you were in that relationship with the narcissist, the manipulator, the person who made you question your reality, you were never actually seen. You were never truly known. What you were was used. You weren't valued for who you were. You were valuable for what you gave, your energy, your attention, your admiration, your kindness. And the worst part, you probably didn't even realize it because it felt like love. It looked like connection. It sounded like affection, but it wasn't real. It was a mirror, a reflection of what they needed you to be to keep their ego inflated. Every compliment you gave, every need of yours you silenced, every boundary you let slide, it all served one purpose: to prop up their image, their version of themselves, not reality, not partnership, not love. And I know that's hard to hear, because when you give, when you care, when you show up with your heart open, you want to believe it's mutual. You want to believe they see you. But with narcissists, it's not about you. It's about how you make them feel about themselves. They aren't falling in love with you. They're falling in love with how you reflect their greatness back to them. You were like a spotlight, shining all your beautiful, compassionate, powerful light on them, and they soaked it up. They stood in that light, bathed in it, demanded more of it. But did they ever turn it back on you? Did they ever stand beside you and say, "Let me see you now. Let me hold space for your dreams, your fears, your voice"? No, because the second you stopped reflecting them, the second you started asking for something real, they pulled away. They got cold, dismissive, maybe even cruel. Because here's the hard truth. When you're with someone who only wants a reflection of themselves, the moment you start acting like your own person, with your own needs, thoughts, boundaries, you become a problem, you become inconvenient, and that's when they show their true colors. But let me tell you something. The fact that you feel broken or invisible after that experience, that says more about how deeply you loved than how deeply you were loved. That pain you're carrying isn't weakness. It's a sign that you gave everything, and now it's time to give some of that love back to yourself. You are not invisible. You were just in the wrong place, a place where your light was used, not honored. And now your job is not to get bitter. Your job is to get clear on your worth, clear on what real connection feels like, clear on who actually deserves access to you, because the right people, they won't need you to be a mirror. They'll stand beside you, look you in the eye, and say, "I see you." When you're in a relationship with a narcissist, it can feel like you're loved, but let me be crystal clear. They don't actually love you. They love what you make them feel about themselves. You are, in their eyes, not a person with your own thoughts, feelings, and desires. You are a mirror, a reflection of their image. They love the idea of being adored, admired, and idolized, but it has nothing to do with you as an individual. It's about the way you make them feel about their own image. Narcissists thrive on validation, and that's not just a small part of their life, it's everything. Without validation, their carefully crafted self-image starts to crumble. This is why they are drawn to people who are empathetic, loving, and attentive. You, as an empath, naturally give attention, affection, and praise. Narcissists feed on this because it keeps their fragile ego intact. You're not the object of their affection. Your admiration for them is. They become addicted to that praise, that constant stream of admiration that makes them feel like they are the center of the universe. Here's the catch. Narcissists will only love you as long as you continue to reflect their desired image back at them. The moment you stop propping them up, the moment you start challenging them, or the moment you start showing them who you truly are, they begin to pull away. Because it's not really you they're invested in. It's how you make them feel about themselves. The second your love stops serving them, they stop loving you. Think about how narcissists will often flatter you, make you feel like you're their one and only, the most special person in the world. But notice how that attention is so conditional. It's only there when you're feeding their ego. The moment you ask for something in return, be it emotional support, respect, or simply a moment where they truly listen to you, you're met with resistance. You'll hear things like, "You're too sensitive," or "You're just overreacting." They want you to be happy, but on their terms. Your needs, well, they aren't important. Not in the same way their needs are. Now, I want you to realize something vital. This dynamic isn't just frustrating, it's exhausting. The emotional highs and lows, the constant tension, the feeling that something is off, but not quite being able to put your finger on it. This is because you're giving everything to someone who will never truly see you for who you are. They will only see you as long as you serve their needs and fulfill their desires. The narcissist's love is an illusion, it's a performance, and you, my friend, are an actor on their stage. As long as you play your role perfectly, they'll keep you around. But when you stop acting, when you start being real, when you stop validating their inflated sense of self, you become disposable, you stop being the reflection they need, and suddenly you're not so important anymore. This is where it gets really tough, because it can feel so personal. You wonder, why don't they love me? Why do I feel abandoned? The truth is, it has nothing to do with you. It's about them. They are incapable of loving anyone unless that love reflects back at them like a perfect mirror. So instead of looking for love in their eyes, you need to look for it in your own. When you realize that the narcissist's love is really just a reflection of their need for validation, something clicks, it shifts your perspective, and that's when you can begin to understand how they operate. The truth is, narcissists don't truly know how to give love. They don't have the emotional depth or empathy that makes love a two-way street. Their love is transactional based on how much you can provide to them. You become an extension of their need for attention rather than a partner to share life with. This dynamic creates an unhealthy cycle where everything is about maintaining their fragile ego. Narcissists thrive in environments where they are constantly admired, where the world revolves around them. They need people in their lives who will mirror their greatness, their power, their perceived importance. In their world, they are the sun and everyone else is a planet revolving around them. They want to be the center of attention, the focus of every interaction, and as long as you reflect that back to them, whether it's through praise, validation, or adoration, they'll keep you around. But it's not about you. It's about the image you create for them. This can be incredibly confusing because at first, the narcissist might seem incredibly loving, they're charming, attentive, and make you feel special. You get caught up in the excitement of it all. They make you feel seen, heard, and validated in ways that no one else has before. You think, this is real love. This is the relationship I've always wanted. But then, little by little, something starts to shift. You begin to notice that when you need emotional support, they're nowhere to be found. When you ask for something in return, you're met with coldness or even outright rejection. The love that felt so warm in the beginning is now starting to feel empty. And here's the painful truth that love was never real. It was conditional. It was a reflection of what you gave them, not of who you are. As you continue in this cycle, you might find yourself doing everything to keep them happy. You start to lose yourself in the process, bending and shaping yourself to fit their expectations. You become a mirror reflecting back their greatness, their needs, and their desires. But at what cost? Over time, you start to forget who you are because you're so focused on reflecting their image back to them. You start to feel like you're losing your identity, and that's because, in a way, you are. The more you become a mirror for the narcissist, the more you lose touch with the person you were before they came into your life. And when you begin to push back, when you begin to show who you truly are, when you express your needs and desires, when you ask for respect or emotional support, the narcissist will react harshly. They might gaslight you, make you feel crazy for wanting something so simple, or accuse you of being selfish. In their world, you're only valuable as long as you're feeding their ego. The moment you stop doing that, the moment you start acting on your own needs, you become a threat to their sense of control. That's when the emotional manipulation starts. That's when the kindness turns cold and their so-called love turns into criticism, blame, or even silence. They'll make you feel like you're the one who's wrong, like you're the one who's selfish for wanting something real. But here's what you need to remember. Their love was never real. It was always about them. It was about what they could get from you, not about who you are as a person. When you realize this, it's like a light bulb goes off in your mind. You start to see the pattern. You start to understand that you were never really seen for who you are, just for how you made them feel about themselves. This realization can be incredibly freeing because now you have the power to break free from the cycle. You can stop mirroring their image and start focusing on yourself. You can begin to reclaim your identity, your worth, and your emotional freedom. The truth is, you are so much more than what a narcissist makes you feel. You are worthy of real love, the kind that doesn't come with conditions or strings attached. And it's time to stop sacrificing your own identity just to reflect someone else's needs. It's time to stop letting someone else define your worth. You are enough, just as you are. And when you stop being a mirror for someone else's ego, you can start reflecting your own true self. That's where true freedom lies. When you're involved with a narcissist, one of the most disturbing realizations is how they systematically take away your sense of self. It starts small, just a comment here, a slight pushback there, but over time, it escalates into a full-blown identity crisis. The narcissist has a way of turning your sense of reality upside down. They don't just manipulate your actions, they manipulate your very perception of who you are, and the longer you stay in that relationship, the more you begin to lose yourself. You think that you're in this relationship because you want to be, but in reality, you're just another piece in their larger ego-driven game, and slowly, step by step, you begin to forget who you were before all this. You forget the confident, independent person you once were. You forget what you liked, what made you happy, and what you stood for. Why? Because narcissists don't know how to love. They only know how to take. They don't just take your time, energy, and resources. They take something much more valuable, your identity. In their world, everything revolves around them, and you're only valuable as long as you serve that need. As long as you're reflecting back their sense of importance, their sense of power. But as soon as you stop doing that, as soon as you start showing up for yourself and expressing your own needs, the narcissist will respond by making you feel like you don't matter. You become a mirror to them, reflecting back their greatness and their vision of themselves. And the moment you stop reflecting their image, you feel like you're being discarded, as though you don't exist anymore. This is how they slowly chip away at your identity. You start to lose yourself because you're so caught up in their demands and their emotional needs. Every time you try to express who you really are, every time you try to stand up for yourself, you're met with criticism, ridicule, or even punishment. They'll tell you that you're being too sensitive, that you're being selfish, or that you're overreacting. Slowly, you begin to doubt your own instincts. You begin to question your worth. Maybe they're right, you think. Maybe I'm just too much, too demanding, too needy. And that's when the damage is done. You start to shrink yourself to fit into their world, a world that only revolves around them. You forget who you were before, and you stop believing in the strength of your own voice. But here's the thing, that self-doubt is exactly what they want. The narcissist feeds on your insecurity, your need for validation. When you're in that state of constant questioning, that's when they can truly control you. That's when they can manipulate your thoughts, your actions, your feelings. But here's the good news: the moment you wake up to this manipulation, the moment you realize that what you're dealing with is emotional manipulation and not love, that's when you get your power back. Because you weren't put on this earth to be a mirror to someone else's ego. You weren't created to reflect someone else's vision of who they want you to be. You were created to stand tall, to be unapologetically yourself. You were born to have your own opinions, your own desires, your own life. You're not here to shrink yourself to make someone else feel bigger. The only way to break free from this narcissistic grip is to start reclaiming that sense of self that they've tried to strip away. It won't happen overnight. But every day you step into your power, every day you remind yourself of who you are, is a victory. The more you stop relying on the narcissist's approval to feel worthy, the more you can rebuild that identity they tried to take. The more you trust your instincts, the more you realize that your feelings matter. The more you begin to understand that your worth is not defined by how they treat you or whether they approve of you. This is the process of reclaiming yourself. It's a journey of rediscovery, a journey where you remind yourself that you were always worthy, always strong, and always enough. You are not just an extension of someone else's ego, and you never have been. You are your own person with your own thoughts, feelings, and dreams, and no one, especially not a narcissist, has the right to take that away from you. It's time to stop shrinking and start expanding into the fullness of who you are. Because when you do, you will realize that the world is yours, and no one can ever take that power from you again. When you're dealing with a narcissist, one of the most damaging things they do is undermine your confidence and self-worth. They do this through a calculated process of control, manipulation, and emotional exploitation. And one of the most insidious aspects of this dynamic is that they make you believe that your value is tied to their approval, their love, and their attention. The narcissist will often make you feel like you're not enough, that you need to change, shrink, or mold yourself to fit into their world. They convince you that without them, you wouldn't be whole, that you wouldn't be loved, that you wouldn't be worthy. This is the trap they set. They slowly twist your reality until you feel that their approval is the most important thing in the world. It's like a drug. You begin to crave it. The narcissist is a master at creating this illusion. They know how to put you on a pedestal, showering you with attention, affection, and validation. You feel like you found your soulmate, your ideal partner, someone who sees you and appreciates you in ways no one else ever has. But here's the kicker, it's all a game. It's all a tactic to hook you, to make you addicted to their validation. They use the highs of their affection to keep you coming back for more. But the moment you start to expect that affection, when you start to need it, that's when they pull away. They withdraw their love, their attention, and you're left grasping, wondering why they've suddenly changed. You start to doubt yourself. You start to feel like maybe you've done something wrong. Maybe you're not lovable or worthy of their attention. That's exactly what they want. Narcissists play this game expertly. They give you just enough love, just enough affection to keep you hooked. But it's never quite enough to satisfy you. You're left constantly seeking more, constantly trying to earn their approval. You start to believe that if you could just be better, if you could just do more, if you could just be what they want you to be, then they'll love you in the way you so desperately crave. But the truth is, no matter how hard you try, you'll never be enough. It's not because there's something wrong with you, but because narcissists are incapable of offering the kind of genuine, unconditional love that you deserve. They only love you as long as you're feeding their ego, as long as you're playing the role they need you to play in their life. The moment you stop playing that role, the moment you start focusing on yourself, that's when the narcissist withdraws. That's when they start devaluing you, belittling you, or worse, gaslighting you into thinking that you're the one who's at fault. But here's where the power lies. The moment you stop seeking their approval, the moment you stop allowing your worth to be defined by them, you take your power back. You start to see through the manipulation. You start to understand that your value is not dependent on their love, their attention, or their approval. You are whole and worthy as you are. And when you stop seeking validation from someone who's incapable of truly giving it to you, you begin to set yourself free. You begin to build the confidence and self-worth that they've been trying to steal from you. You become the person you were always meant to be, strong, confident, and independent. With or without their approval, this is a difficult process, no doubt. Breaking free from the emotional manipulation of a narcissist is never easy. But the first step is realizing that you are not defined by how they treat you. You are not defined by their affection, their criticism, or their games. You are defined by your own values, your own beliefs, and your own sense of self. The moment you stop allowing them to control how you feel about yourself is the moment you begin to reclaim your life. And the truth is, the longer you stay in this toxic cycle, the more you lose sight of who you truly are. You start to forget your worth. You forget that you are powerful, independent, and deserving of real love, love that isn't tied to manipulation, control, or games. So stop playing their game. Start showing up for yourself. Start honoring your own needs and desires. The validation you seek doesn't come from the narcissist. It comes from within. And once you realize that, you'll see how much stronger, more confident, and more empowered you truly are. You are worthy, and you always have been. When you've been in a relationship with a narcissist, it's easy to lose sight of who you really are. They've conditioned you to rely on their validation, their opinion, and their sense of how you should be. Narcissists make you feel as though your identity is something you need to earn or prove to them. They don't really see you for who you are. They see you as a reflection of themselves, as someone who exists to feed their ego. And when you've been so deeply immersed in this toxic dynamic for so long, it becomes hard to separate who you are from who they've made you believe you should be. But here's the thing, you are not a reflection of them. You were never meant to be a mirror for their insecurities, their desires, or their fantasies. You are a unique individual with your own strengths, desires, and goals. When you've been around a narcissist, you've probably found yourself shrinking in their presence, trying to make them happy or trying to become what they wanted you to be. And it's because of this that you start to lose touch with yourself. They make you feel like you're not enough, that you need to be more of this or less of that. And eventually, you start to believe it. You start to believe that your worth is determined by how well you perform in their eyes, by how much they approve of you, by how much you can give to them. The more you give, the more they take, and the more you're left feeling empty. But here's the brutal truth. They will never truly see you for who you are because they are incapable of seeing anything beyond themselves. Narcissists view everything through the lens of their own ego. They only value you as long as you serve their needs. The moment you stop doing that, the moment you stop being what they want you to be, that's when they begin to discard you, devalue you, and push you aside. They use you as a reflection of their own worth, and when you stop being that reflection, they move on. They don't care about your feelings, your needs, or your desires. They are only interested in what you can give them and how you can validate their sense of superiority. So why do you feel so lost when they leave? Why does their absence feel like it's taken away your identity? It's because for so long you've let their validation become your sense of self-worth. You've allowed them to define who you are and what you are worth. But the truth is, you are not defined by how they treated you or how they saw you. Your value was never tied to their approval. You were always enough. But it's hard to remember that when you've been in the shadows of their ego for so long. The first step in reclaiming your identity is recognizing that their view of you is distorted. They didn't love you for who you truly are. They loved what you could give them. You were a tool for their validation. You were a mirror to their ego. And once you can see this truth clearly, you can begin to free yourself from the hold they've had over you. The key to regaining your identity is to start listening to yourself again, to start trusting your own instincts, your own desires, your own worth. You are not a reflection of anyone else's needs or desires. You are your own person with your own dreams, values, and strengths. You are not defined by how they treated you or how they tried to shape you. You are defined by how you see yourself and how you show up for yourself. Breaking free from the narcissist hold takes time and effort, but it starts with one simple realization: you are enough as you are. You don't need to change to meet anyone else's expectations. You don't need to shrink yourself to make someone else feel comfortable. The more you can let go of their hold on your identity, the more you'll start to feel like yourself again. You will begin to rediscover the parts of yourself that were buried under their manipulation. You will start to rebuild your self-worth piece by piece. The process won't be easy. There will be days when you question yourself, when you feel tempted to fall back into old patterns. But you have to remind yourself you are not here to reflect someone else's needs. You are here to live your own life, to be your own person. The more you embrace this, the more you will reclaim your sense of self. And the more you do that, the stronger and more empowered you will become. You were never meant to be a reflection of their ego.